We see on his robe and on his thigh, he has a name written, King of Kings and Lords of Lords. So here we see, this is the end. The battle has come. The fierce wrath comes. The winepress is pressed. And the fierce wrath of God has come. And here we see that no one can defeat him. Why? Because he is the King of Kings. He is the Lord of Lords. And as he finishes up this battle, he will be the one king standing. All the other kings will have been defeated. Then if we drop down to verse 20, we see this. And the beast was seized, and with him the false prophet, who performed the signs in his presence, by which he deceived those who had received the mark of the beast and those who worship his image. These two were thrown alive into the lake of fire, which burns with brimstone. So here we see that the Antichrist, the first beast, and the false prophet, the second beast, those two beasts of chapter 13 are going to be taken and thrown into the lake of fire. Remember, Jesus is judge, and he can judge them immediately, and they will be the first people in the lake of fire. Up to this point, no one else is in the lake of fire. The lake of fire has been put aside for this time. This time has come, and those are the two people who have been thrown in there. We see they're thrown in there alive. So what we recognize is that at this point, they also must have their new resurrection bodies that are given to them so that they will live for eternity in the lake of fire. We see that they are alive, so they don't die. They are alive in the lake of fire. Now, next week, we're going to see Satan also thrown into that lake of fire. And guess who's going to already still be there? His friends, the Antichrist and the false prophet. Now, in this last verse, we see, and the rest were killed with the sword which came from the mouth of him who sat on the horse. So all the rest of the unbelievers are going to be slain by Jesus. How? By the word of God, the word that comes out of his mouth, that sword. So here we see that Jesus is going to judge his enemies. He's going to defeat his enemies. They're not going to go to judgment yet, but they are going to be killed physically. So now at this point, all the enemies of Jesus, all the enemies of God are no longer living on the earth. You can kind of call it a reverse rapture. When the rapture occurs, no believers will be left on the earth, and the only people left on the earth will be unbelievers. When the second coming happens, the glorious appearing happens, all believers will be left on the earth, and all non-believers will be gone. And so that's where we leave chapter 19.